Recording in progress.
Hi everyone, I'm Nicky Chen. I'm a business photography course and your instructor of this course. And there's a be the TA of this course, and both of our here. And you may hear echo because I just opened a Zoom meeting. I should mute this one. Yes, there's a student who's in quarantine, so I not her to join the class remotely. Okay, just let you know. And in any cases in the future, if anyone has emergencies, maybe you're sick or you're being isolated, I can let you to join the class remotely. So just let you know. One. Okay. So here's my office hour. This is on the standby. Which you can find the standby canvas. So if you go to the standby pages and you can download the standbys, okay? So in this whole sequence course, we're gonna do a lot of things. So we have, so now we are at the 3D modeling and animation course, and next spring, we're gonna have an advanced modeling and 3D modeling course. So in this course, we're gonna do architecture modeling, construct buildings, interiors, and furniture, a lot of stuff. And later on, we're going to do texturing. So we're going to talk about UV mapping, how to give texture like the surface of an object, okay, and how to apply lighting in Maya, and how to render. And in the third project, we're going to do animation, so how to animate the character. So for this whole sequence, you're going to learn from the beginning how to build, construct object, and then how to refurnish its a surface, like a texture, and then how to render images and how to animate stuff. So if you have heard about 3D animation and its workflow, you will notice that one key point is missing here, which is a ringing, right? Ringing. So what is the ringing? Ringing is basically you build a connection between your player and the model. So if you got a toy, you will have to have those controllers in order to move the objects, right? So that is called a ringing. Like ringing is a set of skeleton, the bones for your character. So ringing is most tedious, not most difficult, but it's tedious and it has a lot of technical stuff. So I decided to just move it to the advanced course. So after the second project, after we have done texture our model, we just jump directly to animating the character. So I'm gonna provide the character which is already ringed, so you don't have to deal with the technical stuff. So in the next course, in the first or second project, we're going to do ringing. So you're going to learn the whole workflow. And also in this fundamental course in DIGA301, we're going to touch a little bit about Unity 3D. So I know some of you have took the game development course with me in the spring. So what Unity 3D does is in the program you can build a the symphony thing which you can build is a virtual tour, which is, for example, we have this classroom, right? So you can create a model of this classroom. You can take photos of the wall and screen and people, and then you can put them in the game as a texture. And then you can publish your game and share your game to other people. So when they open the game on computer, they can actually walk in that virtual environment. So that's Unity 3D can do. And that's after this course, what you can do, what you will be able to do. So next semester, we're going to go advanced modeling. So we're going to create the character models because character is more complex, right? The structure and the texture is another story. And digital sculpting. So next spring, we're going to do that. And also we're going to do more kind of interactive stuff in Unity 3D as well. So you will actually be able to build a video game, not a very complex video game, but a functioning and a simple small mini game. Okay, so that's the whole workflow. And I have a lot of talented works from the former students, which I'm going to show you throughout the semester. And also Rosie is a very talented 3D artist. Okay, so if you don't know her and haven't seen her works, I recommend you reach out to her. And there's also a few talented students sitting in the class. You will see they either have done fantastic job in the game development course, or they either have created a lot of interesting films from digital video course. So so later on, you're gonna see these works, and it's gonna be a very interesting course. Okay, so now let's talk about the projects. So basically for the course materials, I put recommended text here, but now no one going to read books. So if you prefer like a paper printed books, definitely purchase. So this is the official book for you to learn Maya. But if you have took all the lessons with me, you haven't absent any class, you should be good. You don't need books. Okay. So for the projects, which is assignments, we have 3 assignments throughout the semester. Okay. So after we learn modeling, the basic of modeling, we're going to have a assignment, and then texturing and rendering. So after you learn how to refurnish objects, how to apply textures to it, how to set up lightings, we're going to have another assignment. And here are the deadline for each of the assignments. So this will not be changed. In the worst scenario, for example, hurricane or any other catastrophe happens, we may adjust the date, but these days are settled, so we will not change. And here's a grading scale. Okay, so the 3 assignments, each worth 20% of the grade. Okay, and class participation attendance worth 40%. So I know some of you have took other courses with me for this fall, so you will notice that the grading scale is a little bit different. So let me explain why here class participation attendance worth 40 is a lot. Okay, so let me just go to here. So by participating each class and completing the in-class exercises, well, I would rather say like a demonstration, not exercises, because I will demonstrate it on screen here and you're going to follow on your computer. So that is what I mean exercises here. Okay. So if you participate each class and completing the demonstration, follow my demonstration, you will earn the participation attendance points. So each lesson will worth 2 points. Okay. So which will exclude today's lesson, because we have, if we add today's lesson, it's going to be 21 lessons, but I'll just start count from Wednesday. So we'll have 20 lessons. If you attend each lesson you will earn 2 points. Add together, you're going to have 40 points for those. Okay. So it's important that you don't miss any class, but up to 2 absences will be accepted without deduct your participation points. But I strongly recommend you don't miss any class, because 3D modeling and animation is a difficult project, a subject. So if you miss a class, you really need to go over all of the materials, course materials, and watch the videos in order to catch up. Okay, because every lesson is kind of go step by step. So if you miss one, and then you will for a lot of stuff you will not be able to understand in the next lesson. So I understand everyone has emergencies, so you may absence 2 times. Okay, so After 2 times, each absence will cause the attendance grade to be lower by 8. So let's say if you absence 5 times, 5 times 8 will be 40 points. So you will not gain any participation and attendance points. Okay, so just let you know. And also for our 3D modeling course, this is very important, which is always back up your work. It'll be a catastrophe if you're working on your project and you're almost done and your computer crashed or restarted and you lost your work. So I know most of you use like a Google Drive or Dropbox, right? So every day when you work on your project, zip your whole project folder and upload a backup. Okay, every day update. So you're going to have track of the history files. So now let's go to the course schedule. So based on CineVice, I listed the outline, the schedule for the entire course. As you can see, week by week, lesson by lesson, you will have understanding about what we're going to do, what subjects we're going to learn for each class. And the demo is what I'm going to demonstrate on the screen. So I'm going to demonstrate the steps. And you're going to follow the steps from your computer. And by doing that, we're going to learn these subjects I listed here. Okay. And you can see that here I don't have a link. So if you go to Canvas and go to announcements, so for announcements, for every week, every lesson, I'm gonna put all of the course material here. For example, for this week, right now is the second week, of this semester. So now you can see that I have the schedule here, and I also have details, the course material, like reference images we're going to use to model a table. Okay, so that's where you're going to get all the course materials. Under the announcement tab, you will find each week lesson and the course materials. Okay, so just let you know. And then if you want to know what those 3 assignments are, and you can find those assignments on the CineVice. So if you scroll down and you'll see the detailed description. Okay, but it's not due tomorrow or next week or the week after next week. So I will not go to the details for now. So we'll go to the details once we are close to there. Okay. So that is the structure of the course. So so now go to Canvas, log into Canvas and go to the announcement tab. And I want you to download the reference images from lesson 1. Okay, so download the reference images from lesson 1. So if you go to announcement tab, go to week 2. Okay, go to week 2, and in week 2, you're gonna find lesson 1. And there's a reference images link. So we're gonna start with this table. And by modeling this table, you're going to learn the interface of Maya. So Maya is the programs we're going to use for modeling. So before we get started, how many of you actually learned Maya before or know the basic stuff? Can you hands up? Do anyone learned Maya before? No, none of you? Okay, that's a fantastic news. Okay.
Has anyone learned another popular 3D program called Blender, maybe?
Yeah, maybe Blender. How many? Hold. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we have 3 students learn the Blender, so you know some of the terms, right? Like UV and mesh. Okay, that's good.
Some of the projects for people who already know Blender, some of the projects can be like made in Blender, but we do recommend for the class following along in Maya, because like learning the 3D principles and learning how to learn programs is just as important as like already having something under your belt.
Yeah. And I know Blender, for a lot of aspects, Blender is easier than Maya, but just need to know in the industry, Maya is still the major program. Many companies, the large companies, they still use Maya. So that's why we're still using Maya as a main program for the course. Okay. All right, so everyone be able to download the reference image for this table. We can get started. Okay, so now search Maya and open it. So you can just go to the right top corner of your screen and type Maya and search. So if activate. Okay, so if you get a screen ask you to active, just click on active. Looks like they have an activity program. So just click on active and then you can open. So they just renewed all the NAP computers and they reinstalled the program. So it looks like they get Maya 2022, which is great. The newest version of Maya. Okay. So this is the interface. Okay. Very simple, looks simple, but it can be complex. As a starter, it can be complex. It has a lot of segments in there. Okay. So let's start to create the first basic object. Okay. So whenever you want to create things, create objects, you're going to go to top menu, create. Okay, here create. And we're going to start with a polygon primitive. And I'm going to explain the differences between polygon primitive and NURB primitive. Okay. So create and polygon primitive and cube. Okay. So let me make a screenshot so I can enlarge it. So here, oh, not this one, sorry. Okay, so that's what you're going to do, create polygon primitive and a cube. Okay, so now we have a cube. Okay, first I want to talk about navigation, because whenever you get a program open or you are playing a video game, you're gonna have the instruction how to navigate in the scene, right? So if you want to orient around, like rotate around the scene, what you're going to do is hold down the option key, and use your mouse left key to orient. Okay, that's orient. And then if you want to, let's see, if you want to zoom in, zoom out, just use the mouse middle key. Mouse middle key. Okay. And if you want to focus on an object, like, see, now I'm very far from an object, right? So if I want to lock my view onto the object, I just select it first, and then hit F key, F as focus, hit F, and then you're going to lock your view on it. So this really helps whenever you're lost in the scene, like you are very far away from it and you can't knock your view on it. And then just select the object and hit F key. Okay. And this is extremely important whenever you get like this. If I have a lot of objects in the scene, I want to focus on a specific object like this one, and then I can select it and hit F key. Okay. And this one I can hit F key. Okay, just let me know. All right, so now I'm deleting the other stuff. So F is for focus. So select the object, hit F key, focus. And then what if you want to jump out of the scene? So if you want to see the whole scene in this in the set, you're gonna hit A. So now if you hit A, nothing gonna change, right? So let me demonstrate. Let me just show you on the screen what's gonna happen if I have multiple objects. So see, if I select one object, now I have 3 objects in the scene. So F will focus on 1, right? If I hit A, you're going to log all of the objects in the scene. So just a little know, remember the short key, A is for you to jump out. So right now you only have 1 object, so it doesn't look very effective, but later on you're gonna notice it. Okay, so now how to move an object. So how to move an object. Right now, if you select object, it doesn't show the arrow as I demonstrated, right? So if you select an object and on the left side, let me make a screenshot and I'll zoom in. So on the left panel, you have these tools. So the 4th one is move. The 4th one is move. Okay, so if you select that one, move tool, the 4th one, and then your object gonna have arrows. And then you'll be able to grab your object and move it. Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. My computer has been trying to load the software for like
Okay.
minutes now. It's just not.
Okay, Rose. Yeah, we're gonna help you.
Sorry.
No problem. Okay, so that's move tool, right? And then the 5th one is rotation. So if you select the 5th tool, and then you can see that we're gonna have this circle. Is a sphere, and for the sphere you can grab each line, each circle, and you can rotate your model on different axes. And whenever you are not satisfied with that, you can just hit Command Z to go back. So Command Z once and twice, and 3rd time I'm going to go back to the initial state. Okay, and same for the last tool, which is the 6th one, is a scale tool. So if you use a scale, you can scale your object along a specific axis by grab a specific line. See here. So for the scale, if I grab the green one, so basically I'm scaled down the cube along the y-axis, right? And then if I just click on the center cube, if I click on the center cube, I can scale the cube down from all the 3 axes. Okay, so now I'll give you about a half minute to use all of these tools and to orient around and play that cube and modify it and change it to any shape you want, like a scale tool, rotation tool, and move tool. Okay, so just get used to it, and we're going to move to the next step. Yes. I just really simple. I know here it doesn't have anything, so it's supposed to be central for maybe yeah, it's happening. So just for when you want to shows the So when this happens, since you're in a different pricing, so usually I will use the right key run out because the computer have a setting right key that
So I mean, what I'm control.
and
Have them on, like, go back and forth and you're
you're using tool. Really fun. Anytime happens, you have a icon that is your
So instead of like Blender, in Maya, it's
Okay.
you would just click back to the mouse and then you is translate, rotate, scale.
Okay. Why would you do something? Makes so much sense.
Whoa. Oh, well, you know what? It's scrolled out all the way. And focus on it. Thank you. Does anyone else need help still?
obviously have different EX, so I can change more.
Very interesting.
Yeah, that's because he is a switch the lab. Right now, if I is in this corner, that means you're connected to content. I won't never click on that. It turns to a starter, so you need to go into select the segments. And I will have to use the right key right so different rules. You're going to see why this happens. We'll have to use the mouse right to keep active. That's the story. Okay, we have some of you had an issue. Okay. So right now I'm able to move this whole object, right? But sometimes some of you had the issue like, okay, someone have issue to not be able to move the entire object. That is because our mouse right key is deactivated. Okay, do anyone notice that the mouse right key is deactivated? Yes. So yeah, without the right key, I cannot demonstrate that. That's weird. So, you know, when you modify object, there's a way that you'll be able to select a specific part of the model instead of the whole object, right? Like if I only want to select this face and grab this face out, so I'll be able to switch the face selection mode and select each individual face, or I can select each individual edge or point So in order to do that, we'll have to use the mouse right key to switch a different selection mode. So that's the whole story. I'll tell the IT to take a look of the mouse setting and ask them to maybe unlock the setting. So we'll be able to make the mouse right key work. Okay, so we'll be able to change that. But right now, we'll use a different way to modify our model. So as you can see, we can go to different axes and scale down the model, right? So now we have this table, and I'm gonna create this top face, the top panel, which is thickness about maybe 1 inch, and then maybe about 20, and the width maybe about 10 inch. Okay, that computer works. Okay, cool. So how can we make it precise? If I just use the scale tool like this one, if I use a scale tool, well, I can do it very quick, but I cannot get it precise, right? So how can I get it precise? Do anyone of you noticed that on the right top panel, we have numbers here, right? So whenever I change the scale, it shows scale's number, the percentage, scale X percentage, Z percentage, right? Do anyone notice that? It's located here. Okay, so that means if I just type a particular number, and then I can modify the shape, and then I can make the scale relationship precise, like X, Y, Z, each one, how long it should be. So scale X, let's try, let's see, X is the length. So scale X, let's try 20. They're gonna be huge. They're gonna be very long, right? And scale Y, which is the thickness. Okay, thickness. I'm gonna try 1. And scale Z, I'm gonna try 10. So that's the width. So now I have 20 as the length, and 10 as the width, and 1 as the thickness. Okay, so that's how you make the object precise. Yes, question? Yeah, so just select an object and go to the right corner and type the number here. Yeah. Select the model, select it. Okay, yeah, you have the same column. Oh, your reality works. Okay. So you have to select an object. So that's what I try to explain. So in object mode, you only have to select open. And edge, you only have to select each individual edge. So one. Yeah, one right, but mine doesn't work. So open mode, and then you can change the right. Try this new one, and then here.
Sorry, I feel like shared balance. Also, it's having the problem where. Yes.
Okay, good news. I noticed that some computers, the mouse right key works. That's extremely weird, you know, because at the start of the semester, they haven't got all the computer set up correctly. But anyways, some computer have the right key activity, which is good. So remember, if your right key works, if you right click on an object and then it jump up a menu like object selection mode, face selection mode, and then just select the object mode. With object mode, you will be able to select the entire object at once, and then you will have these settings here, and then you can type numbers. Just let you know. Okay, so what do you think? the top face of the model, the top face of the table. Is that right? Let's see. Well, maybe a little bit too thick. And in that scenario, we can lower the scale Y. So right now it's 1, right? Maybe we can do 0.6 or 0.5 to adjust it. So I just put a 0.6 and I think it is better. Okay. And then let's move it up. So now, animator or modeler, designer, they use a lot of shortcut in order to speed up their workflow. So W is for move. So if you hit W, W is for move. Letter E is for rotation. And R is for scale. So WER, which is very close together, right? So with these 3 keys, you'll be able to switch the different controller very fast. So now we want to move it up. So as I move it up, as you can see, as I move it up, the translate Y also has a value. So now I move it up about 5. So I'll just type number 5. So I know exactly how much I have moved. Okay, and then I want to show you something, what this number means. So what number 1 means, how far is it? So if you go to the left top corner, if you click on Maya and go to preferences, click on Maya and go to preferences. Okay, and then I would like to find the unit for you. So setting, so go to preferences and go to settings. Go to settings. And then you should see that the working units right now is a centimeter, right? So that means the model right now, when you create an object, if I put, for example, the scale X is 20, so the size of the table, the length is 20 centimeter, okay? And scale Z, I put 10, so that means the width is 10 centimeter, just to know. So if you are creating something for 3D printing, you got an idea about how big your model is. So if you really want the model to be as the same as the real life table, for example, this table in front of me, the length is about maybe 80 centimeters, and then I'm going to use 80 instead of 20. So just let you know what the number means. And if you don't want the unit as a centimeter, you can change it to meter, okay, or change it to inch, okay. But we're going to use the default one, which is centimeter. All right, so that's what the number means. So now let's start to create the next. So now let's see. We're gonna start with 1 neck, okay? And then we're gonna duplicate the neck for the other 3 necks. All right, so if you go to the top menu, create polygon primitives, and let's start a new cube. Let's start a new cube. So here we go. So for this cube, let's say if it is a neck, I think the thickness is good. Sorry, the width and the length is good. However, we want to change the height. So for scale Y, maybe we can try 15. Oh, 15 is too much. Maybe 10. Okay, so 10 is just enough. Okay, so that's the neck. Okay, but right now, it's in the center, right? So just change the scale Y to 10, and the height is just enough. So I have to move it to the corner. So we can just use the move tool by hit W key, and with the move tool to move it to the corner. And those. So we can move it to the corner. All right. As I move it to the corner, I can see that the number is not precise. Translate Z and translate X means the the distance that you have moved. So right now I move it to the negative side of the x-axis. So that's why the translate x is a negative value, and also the z is a negative value because I moved to the negative side on the axis. So what I can do is I can make the number to a unit. So for example, translate x right now is like minus 9.5 or something. I can change it to just minus 9 to be more precise. And translate z, I can make it minus maybe 5. Oh, 5 is too much. So maybe minus 4. Yes, minus 4. So now for this nag, if I use translate x as minus 9 and translate z as minus 4, you can see that it's on the left corner of the table, right? So now I got one nag. Later I'm going to tell you why I make the number like a unit instead of have the points. Okay. So now I have one nag. How to create the other 3 nags? Should I just go from the beginning, like create a new cube and change the scale y to 10 and then move it manually? Should I do that? Definitely not. Okay, we have a faster step to do it. So if you get an object and if you want to reuse it, you can always duplicate. So how to duplicate? If you select this model, select this object and hit Command D, just hit it one time. Okay, you're going to make a duplication. Okay, right now I already hit Command D, but nothing seems changed because the 2 objects overlapped with each other. So after I hit Command D one time, and if I move the object, now you can see that now I got another nag for the table, right? I can move it to the other side. And as I move, okay, how to get the table symmetry? I want these 2 nags on different side of the x-axis, but I want them to be symmetry. So what I can do is select the first nag. You can see that the translate x is minus 9, right? And the translate z is minus 4. So that means for the other nag, for the duplicate nag, I can just flip the value. For example, the translate z, I can flip it from minus 4 to positive 4. If I do that, you can see that the nag gonna be moved to another side, right? And it will be symmetry. So that's how you can do that. So now I made 2 nags. And I want you to make the nag for the other side of the table. And I want your model to be exactly symmetry. So when I say exactly symmetry is you're gonna duplicate the nag and just a flip is translate z and translate x to get the nag to the other side. Okay, so I'm gonna give you about 1 minute to do this. I see some of you already have done this. That's great. Okay, so duplicate the nag, and then flip it to the other side. 1 minute. Yes. Let's do this up and because it's already there. I think duplicate just stay on the same spot. And just one thing, it's really important that after you duplicate the object, move it right after that. Otherwise, see if I hit Command D multiple times. Oh, sorry. No, I get to the. Okay, I accidentally go to a different selection mode, but I'm not be able to go back to the object selection mode. That's weird because my mouse is deactivated. All right. So see, if I duplicate the object multiple times, I'm gonna have several objects stay on the same spot. So this is gonna cause problem. So whenever you apply texture to your model, and if you have multiple objects overlap with each other, the texture will display really weird, and also the lighting will display really weird. So a lot of times students thought they have issue with the model, but it's a very simple issue. Sometimes maybe you duplicate the object, but you forgot to move it out. Okay, just let you know. Let me delete all of these. Yes. So it's a different display. So 4 is only display the object.
Okay.
That's a good point. I think that's correct. Oh, yeah. So if you go to Windows, go to Element. Thank you for, yeah, I really think that. So I received 2 very talented questions. First one, some of you had model turned to this mode. See that? So it's wireframe mode. So a lot of time it's very useful for you to get a model precise. For example, if you have the neck and you don't want it to actually penetrating into the top board, so you only want it to stay on the surface. But with the shaded mode, you'll not be able to see that, right? So to get it precise, you can turn the wireframe mode, and you can get the points in the line very precise. So to switch the different mode, 5 is a shaded mode, and 4 is a wireframe mode. 4 is a wireframe mode, and 5 is a shaded mode, is the mode which we are currently saying. And 6, if you press 6, nothing gonna change because right now we don't have any texture for the model. So if you hit 6, it's gonna display the texture. But as I said, since we don't have a texture right now, so it doesn't show anything. And 7, if you press 7, it turns the model into black color. Do you know why? It's because 7 going to turn on lighting, the lights, because we don't have lights in the scene, so it can only show the model in black color. Okay, so 5 is most common display mode we're going to use. So we're going to only show the model itself. Okay, another question I received is how to show a list of the objects we have in the scene. So right now we have 2 necks. Actually, you guys can create 4 necks and the top board. So how can I see how many objects I have in the scene? So there's a window. So if you go to top menu windows and turn on outliner, Windows outliner. So in outliner, see, you're going to show all the cubes, or later on, if you're going to have a sphere, so you're going to show the objects here. Okay, so you can select each individual cube or sphere, each individual object. Okay, and so that's outliner. Okay, so now I have the next for one side of the table. So now I'm going to flip it to the other side. So what I'm going to do is duplicate this neck, and then I'm going to flip the translate X from -9 to +9. So you're going to go to that side. Same thing for the other one. It's very quick, right? Okay, so now we just created a table. And if you take a look at the image, we also have the sideboard, okay, there. That is the same theory. So we'll not spend time on that one. So right now we're going to just move on to the next one. So now we're going to create a chair. Let me see if I already downloaded the image or not. Yes, I have it. Now we'll start to create this chair model. Very quick. Okay. So for this chair model, you can see that it has 2 necks, 4 necks, but the front one is very short and the back one are longer. Okay, so now we're going to use a different way to model it. So we're going to start with the numbers and then we're going to manually move it. So we can start new scene maybe. So just go to tool menu, file, and new scene. File, new scene, and you don't have to save it. Okay, so now we have a entirely new scene. Okay, so let's start with the setting board. Okay, so create polygon primitive and a cube. And let's decide how big we want the setting board to be. So for example, like here, we're gonna have 40 centimeter. Okay, so let's try 40 centimeter, both for length and width. So I'm gonna select it and go to scale X and type 40, and scale Z 40 as well. And this is how it looks. Okay. And maybe I can get it a little bit thicker. So right now scale Y is 1. I can try 2. Okay. So right now this model is a real scale because 40 centimeter is a real scale model. Okay. Now we're going to go to create and polygon primitive and create a cube and move it down. Here we go. So with this cube, we're going to create a nag. Okay, so for the nag, we can try scale X as 2 and scale Z as 2. So that's the thickness of it. And then we can make it higher. So scale Y, we can try maybe 15. Okay. Do you think it's the right size? I think it's a little bit too short, right? I think it's a little bit too short. So maybe I'm gonna try 30 for the height. And also scale X and Z, I'm gonna use 5. Okay, so now is the scale for this nag. I'm gonna use a scale X as 5, Y as 30, and Z as 5. So that will be the nag of this chair. And I'm gonna put it in the front corner. Okay, move it to the front corner. And again, you're gonna see that the translate X and Y is not a unit number, an integer. So I can change it to -16 or -15 or something. So just to try the integers like a 16 and see if it looks good. So now I just tried translate X as -16 and translate Y as -16. And that's the position. And translate Z, let's try also 16. Okay, looks good. And then we can hit Command D to make a duplication. And we can flip it to the other side. So I can just flip the translate X value because see now for the duplication, if I move it to the other side, only the translate X changes. Right, so that means if I put the translate X as a 16, it will be a good position. Okay, so that's the model so far. So I'm gonna give you 1 minute to make it. And while you're doing that, let me make a few screenshots to show you the setting. So here's the fitting board, and this is the nag. All right, so I just opened the setting of each part, like the setting board. I open it. scale X, Y, Z, here's the number. And for the neck, here's the transiting X, Y, Z, and also the scale X, Y, Z. Okay, so if you want your model to be exactly the same as mine, you can just reference the number here. Okay, after you get all of those, we can get start to the next step. Okay, so now I think everyone have done this front leg, right? So if I select the front leg, so now I can see that the scale Y is a 30. Okay, so if you take a look at the image, the back leg, the neck on the back is longer, so maybe it's a 60 or 70. Okay, so we can just make a duplication. So I'm going to duplicate the front leg and let's move it to the back. So I can just flip. So I will flip it on the z-axis because as I move it to the back, only the z value changes, right? So notice here this number. So as I move it, the translate z it moves. So that means if I flip the number from positive 16 to minus 16, it's going to be in the back. Okay, so I will only duplicate one neck. Okay, so how to get it longer? How to get this neck longer? So if we have mouse right key activated, it will be very, very easy. Okay, so let me tell you what. If you just right click and go to the face selection mode, and then you can select the top face and just bring it up. That's it, and we'll be done. Okay, but I will not be able to demonstrate it in today's lesson because my mouse key is not working. The right key is not working. So I'm gonna use a different way. I'm gonna do a simple calculation, maybe. So for scale Y, instead of 30, so now I may try 60. Okay, I mean try 60. But after I have done 60, how can I, okay, how can I make it at the same level as the front leg? So how can I make the back leg stay on the same level as the front leg? So since I already increased the height by 30, so that means the position, I will have to raise it by 15 units, right? In order to make it to stay on the ground level. So it's a simple math. Okay, it's a simple math. So that means translate Y, I'm gonna add 15. So that will be -1. So if you type -1, now you can see that the back leg, it'll stay on the same plane as the front leg. So I increase its length by 30, and then I raise it by 15. So that way, its neck gonna stay at its initial point. Does that make sense? Is a math? Okay. But as I said, maybe next lesson or the next after next time, if we get the mouse right key works, we're going to use the other way to do it, and it's going to be much simpler. Okay, so now I get this neck, and then I can just flip it to the other side, which is going to make a duplication. And if I move it to the other side, you can see that only the translate X value is going to moving. So that means if I flip the translate X from -16 to +16, it's going to be flipped to the other side. Okay. And if you think the nag in the back is still too short and you want to be higher, you can do the same way to change it. So now I only increase it by 30. Maybe you can increase it by 40 or 60, but just to make sure you also add a number to move it up. So it's on the ground plane, just let me know. Now let's move to the next step. So now we're going to create these individual smaller pieces, right? So this time we're going to make it a little bit faster. Okay, so we're going to first create this board and here. So let's go to create polygon primitives and cube, and then move it back. So with option key and your mouse left key, you can orient around, you can rotate around. So you'll be able to see if the cube is actually between the two necks or not. Okay, and then I'm going to use R key for scale, and I'm going to insert that board between the necks. Okay, so here we go. So now I get a backboard on the table, in the back on the chair. So here we go. So now I just make it a little bit faster because for the nag, okay, we already made it a symmetry. So for the backboard, since we only have one, so I don't have to worry about its size. I just make sure it looks good, and then that's good. So that's the backboard. Okay, and then let's create a smaller frames. So we can also start with the polygon primitive, a cube, move it up. And again, for the start point, I'm gonna move it back between the two necks, the back necks. And then I'm going to scale it up, make it higher. Right? And then I want to make it wider. Something like this. Okay, I don't move it left or right. Do you know the reason? I just move it backward, but I don't move it left or right. The reason why I'm doing this is I still want to keep this frame. This is small frame center. So I want it to be in the center. By doing that, I can make this chair still symmetry. Okay. So I created a small frame for the back face. I just move it backward. I don't move it left or right because I want it to be in the center. So the chair is a symmetry. Okay, so now after you get the first one, if you're satisfied for this a small frame, I just created. If you're satisfied with the width, with the length, okay, and its position, now we can make a duplication. But as we make a duplication, I still want to keep this chair symmetry. So how can I do that? So if I take a look at its value, so for this small frame, if I take a look at the translate XYZ, I can see that the translate X is still 0, right? So that means it's stay in the center. So if I hit Command D to make a duplication and hit W key to move and move it to the left, and now I can see that the translate X have changed. So now on my screen is minus 6.3 or something. So I can make it minus 7. So now I have one duplication, and then I can make another duplication and simply flip the transient x from minus 7 to positive 7. So you're gonna flip to the other side. And this whole chair is a symmetry. Does that make sense? Okay, so I just duplicate the center frame, make it move it to the left, and then I copy that value and make another duplication and flip that value. So it's gonna be flip the frame to the other side. So I'm gonna have 3 small frames on the back face, and all of them are symmetry. Okay, so I'm gonna give you 1 minute to create the smaller frames on the bottom side of the chair. So we have 1 in the front and 2 on the side. So for the 1 in the front, you don't have to worry about symmetry issue because you only have 1, right? So just make sure it's stay in the center and move it forward, not backward. For the 2 on the side, you can create 1 for the left side, and then make a duplication and flip its value. So you're gonna be to the other side. Okay, so 1 minute to create the small frames on the bottom of the chair. Oh, yeah. Thank you. So this is the basics of Maya, the basics. As you can see, it's not very difficult, right? Everyone don't have experience with the Maya at all, and you can start to create a table and now a chair very fast. So it's basically everything you want to create is go from the create menu. And even when you want to put the character, a very complex character, you're gonna start with a cube or something and then start to modify the shape. So everything is a start from a cube or a sphere. Okay. So today we have talked about the navigation, right? So how to navigate around the scene. And then I will talk about the units. So remember, every time when you want to create the model, so what is the size you want to create? Then you have to check the unit. So by default is a centimeter. And then you can check the number at here. And when you select your model in object mode, you'll have the number on the right side. And to see the objects in your scene, you can go to Window and Outliner, and you're gonna list all the objects you have in the scene. Okay. And yep, that's pretty much of it. And if you don't have any question, you are good to go. And I'm gonna see you next time.
Thank you.
Yeah, see you.
Thank you.
Yeah, see you. See you. Yeah, you too.